Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. Thanks for joining on Sunday instead of Saturday. Had a good time at my nephew's birthday party yesterday, but now I'm ready to turn these pens up. I can't wait to see how these turn out. So real quick, let's show you guys what just happened. Lost my camera. Hold on a minute. This is what happens when I do things funny. Let's restart the camera for some reason. Deactivate. Activate. Okay. Oh, that's the wrong one. Deactivate. Activate. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. The camera wasn't working at first. We got things rolling. So here's the blanks that we got. Here's the results. And I don't know, again, very tightly banded and stuff in most of these, but these colors, the color combination is looking pretty good. And of course, we added more mica powder on this round. So I think that these are going to turn out a little bit better than the first ones. And then here's the other ones where we kind of tried to do just two colors. There was more purple. Like I really think that for what I had in mind, I'd have to really cut down and just put a little bit of that purple in, but it's pretty cool looking. And so we got a little bit, you can't really see a lot of the glitter because we did put Starlight in there and it's not really showing up right now, but I think it's going to be on the inside. But again, keep in mind there was a lot less of the purple. It just kind of sort of wants to take over, it looks like. So we'll have to kind of see what they look like on the inside. Here's kind of a cross section. So there's definitely, there's quite a bit of white in there still. And it's always interesting to me, like, we really put a lot less purple in, and it just seems like a lot of times you got to be careful if you're mixing a dark color with a really, really light, like a white, because the dark color just, I don't know, what did we put in there? Like 20%? Or something like that. Like it was a very low percentage out of the total of resin. 15%. Okay, so there was only 60 grams of blurple, 340 grams of white, and you still get quite a bit of purple showing up. So just that's one thing to kind of keep in mind. A lot of my color combinations, like the team colors even, if I'm putting black in, that tends to just kind of take over even though there's a lot less black in it. So just one little kind of tip. But here's these guys. This is the one that we're going to turn. And again, you can kind of see this one's almost like a divided, it's kind of weird. So definitely you can, by adjusting how you do the technique of doing the dirty pour, and the different amounts and layering and all that kind of different stuff, you can get different results and change things up a little bit. On this one we did a light purple, mint green, and silver. And we did a lot more. This is another one where we did mostly purple in this. It was 50% purple and then 25% green, 25% silver. And it's kind of crazy because there's actually quite a bit of silver showing up in a lot of these blanks. So this is just the outside though, so we'll have to kind of see what we get when we turn them down. I'm really excited about this. Now one other thing that I also wanted to mention real quick, is it this one? Okay, so here's my TBC bushings. The thing is on this blank, the other one's fine. My bushings are fitting fine in this one. But on this side, the TBC, the ones that Brian makes, the TBC bushings they fit extremely well. The problem is, for some reason, this tube side, and it's not even glue because I cleaned this out, scraped it, did all kinds of stuff. For some reason, this side of the tube I would have to like hammer in this bushing. And so it's not a bad idea, especially if you have the standard types of bushings. What I'm going to do is use one of those. And I'm going to use my trusty, trusty adapter from TBC bushings on this one side. So just kind of be aware of that. Sometimes your tube just doesn't want to work with you, and typically the standard bushings, they're sloppy. So You know, they'll fit if you got a really tight tube. Assembly might even be kind of a problem on this one, but we'll just have to kind of cross that bridge when we get to it. One of the things that could have happened is, and this is another thing that I want to kind of mention about pen blanks, a lot of times I'll recommend that you don't turn blanks like, you know, like the same day that you pull them out of the pressure pot, or maybe not even the next day. And typically the reason for that is the blank is a little bit softer, and so it'll turn fine generally. I mean, there's almost no problem. You could probably turn Alumilite clear slow or the regular clear blanks the same day technically. I mean, it'll turn. It's going to be a little bit softer, so it may, you know, like the same days, I really wouldn't do that. The next day, though, you could easily turn it, but it's a little bit softer and it won't polish as well because it's a softer material. The harder it is, the more gloss, shine, the easier it is to polish. But the other thing about this is, if you're going to be gluing a tube in, so, and I did this, I glued the tubes in the next day, which is probably not a smart idea. I didn't really think about it, but as you know, Alumilite Clear Slow has a 5-day full cure time. And so over the course of those 5 days, mostly at the front end though, the resin will actually do a little bit of shrinking. So just keep that in mind. You might even want to wait like a couple days before you actually glue the tubes in, because what could happen is it's a very minuscule amount, but if your drill hole is pretty tight to the tube that you're gluing in, and the resin does shrink down a little bit, it may make it a little bit tighter and kind of squeeze on this. That might have happened in this case. I don't know. Just wanted to mention that. It's not, typically that's not going to really cause a problem, I don't think, because Alumilite Clear Slow doesn't shrink that much in the first place. And you can kind of tell that because sometimes it's hard to get it out of the tubes. Like if you poured it in a PVC pipe, it's not like it shrinks away from that and it's super easy to pop out the next day. Polyester resin, on the other hand, that stuff shrinks a ton. You really don't even need to use like a mold release on PVC pipes, because it shrinks so much that it almost just falls out the next day when it's cured. So just kind of keep that in mind though. All resins do shrink slightly. Typically your epoxies don't do it that much. There's not much shrinkage. Your urethanes, I think, are probably the least amount of shrinkage while they're curing, but they do shrink a tiny bit. So just kind of keep that in mind. Let's see here. So I'm going to scroll up and see. It looks like Mike McEwen was here first, according to my thing, and Kim's here, and Vinny. There's a lot of people here, so maybe, I don't know, maybe Sunday's a day to do these things. Let me know. Let's do a poll. I'm kind of curious. Let's see. How do I do a poll? I'm not saying that I can do this because Sundays work really well for my schedule for kind of not doing streams, but gotta type this out here. We'll do a little poll. It'll be kind of interesting. I mean, I would imagine that the people that are here on Sunday are probably, there may be, like if I did this on the Saturday stream, maybe it would be different. I don't know, but we'll just do a poll and just kind of see what we get. Why not? We'll just see what happens. Let's see here. Who else is here? I saw Jennifer's here, and Bruce, and Jules the cat is here. Nice. And Brian over at TBC. Let's see. I don't want to miss anyone, but I might. Myra's here. Who else? Barb's here. Cool. Matthew's here. Kid Cooper. Nice. And I saw, what are you healing? What's the healing part? Let me know. Myra was asking about what is a dirty pour. So we did the last, last week's live stream. If you want to go back and watch that, you can see what happens. And we did it like 3 weeks ago as well. We've played around with this, but so basically what we did, for anybody that doesn't know what a dirty pour is, let me get my mold. I want to kind of show you the setup of what all we were doing. We poured them into the Gatling mold. That was our mold. So I mixed up all the resin in this cup. I poured the part A and part B, mixed it all up. But then what I did and I don't know exactly what size cups, but basically what we did was we poured, so this was 3 colors, this one specifically. We poured, you know, resin into 3 different cups, added our colors in there, and then what we did was we poured them back into 1 cup, and we kind of layered them a little bit, and then we basically just poured our blanks with all 3 of the colors kind of mixed into the same cup, and just dumped them into the mold. Filled, you know, so instead of having 3 separate cups where we're doing multiple passes, you know, setting them down and doing all this kind of stuff, we just dumped all of our cups, all of the colors together. You know, we kind of layered it and did some stuff, but basically all the colors were poured separately, but back into 1 cup, and then poured out of that cup, kind of like a mixture. And you can kind of see, you know, there's all these like striations of color going on, and it just kind of, it's mixing colors up without having to like pour it multiple times. And we're just experimenting, you know, it's another technique that you could employ, depending on what type of thing that you're trying to get out of it. Now, my thing is, I still haven't gotten, what ends up happening, it seems like for me, and we've done a couple different things. 3 weeks ago, we did it where we had like the same amount of each color, you know, like 33% of each color, and just kind of poured it, you know, equal layers into the cup. But it tends to really, I don't know, there wasn't much separation. It ended up kind of, you know, we got these like really tight color. There wasn't like larger bands of color or differentiation. And we did it, and we kind of changed up the ratios, and we still kind of got, you know, pretty close banded lines, but that's basically what we did. And a lot of times, like, I'll do like a quote unquote dirty pour, where I'll just mix like a transparent color with like a mica powder in the same cup, and that just gives you a little bit more depth, some color variation. But I generally at that point just dump it in the cup and kind of stir it up. I'm not looking for like layering or anything like that in that, but that's technically also a dirty pour. Let's see here. Yeah, I think they might be some cool pens. I don't know. I'm gonna switch to this view so you're not just staring at those things. I don't know if you really want to look at my face either, but you know. Let's see here. Oh shoot, the thing. I'm trying to read the comments and it keeps switching and moving around. TJ's in the house. What's up? Skull Cram here by accident. Well, welcome. Join the fun. Oh, the tattoo. I see. Okay. Oh, Myra, you had surgery on Thursday. That's no fun. What did you have surgery on? Your, like a knee, ankle? I'm still waiting to go to the surgeon to see what the deal is with my knee. Although yesterday, for some miraculous reason, it just seemed to be absolutely fine. Like I could walk on it normal and there was no popping out a joint feeling or anything. So I don't know, maybe it's getting better. I still certainly wouldn't trust it to run on it anytime soon. So I don't know. Yeah. Saturday's better. Oh, okay, yeah. Let's see what else is going on with the. So a lot of people are saying Sunday though too. Interesting. Like I said, I'm not sure if I would be able to switch it or not, but oh, that's the wrong camera. We're gonna go over to the lathe now. But you know, it's good to know. I could also kind of look at what, you know, look at things, possibly rearrange, like if it was better for everybody on Sunday, that, you know, you never know. Might be able to switch it. Okay, so I think we're gonna go for the 2 color first, the purple and white. Just because, I don't know, why not? You know, I gotta find the, and I totally wrecked my finger. Watch out, sometimes your bushing edges can be kind of sharp, and I shoved the bushing in, and I was trying to pull it out, and just watch these edges on your bushings. They can, especially like I was really digging in and I kind of cut my finger. So be aware of sharp edges. Don't stick your finger in them. Okay, and again, like I said, I'm going to be using the TBC bushings because my normal bushings just don't fit. Something's weird with the tube. It's not glue. Like I said, I scraped the heck out of this thing, and there wasn't any glue on it. The tube may just be kind of bent, or like I said, possibly the blank may have shrunk a little bit. I don't know that was really the problem, because I would imagine that it would have been even on both sides if that was the case, but I don't know, something happened. That's why it's always good to have these adapter bushings. And again, for just in case anybody doesn't exactly know what I'm talking about, if you're using like a normal, if you've been using a pen mandrel and you've got the like standard bushings that don't have the 60-degree cone on the end, you can buy the adapter bushings, which go into your standard ones. And then you can get yourself, like the TBC setup, but you don't have to go and buy, you can use your standard bushings then. And so these things are invaluable, especially like if you do, like for me, I do a lot of the like Sierra variants, or is it Monarch, Wall Street, Gatsby, like that kind of thing. That's one that I do these a lot when I'm testing, because it's just a single, it's a cheap kit if I want to make a pen, but it's also just a single blank. I do a lot of cigars and I do a lot of juniors. And so, for something that you're going to do a lot of, I would recommend, go out and get the bushings. And this is more like if you've got a bunch of the standard bushings and you're switching from a mandrel to the TBC setup. For anything that you do a lot of, I would recommend go out and get the real TBC bushings for those kits. But I'm not going to buy a new set of TBC bushings for every single pen kit that I buy, especially if I'm doing kind of a one-off deal. It just doesn't really make sense, right? It's going to cost a lot of money, and if I'm not making a bunch of them, what's the point? So I use these TBC adapters, especially because I have a lot of the other bushings, the standard ones. But if you have them already, you don't have to replace them. You can just use those adapters. It's great. But like I said, in most cases, I would recommend going for just, what we're trying to do is get the most accurate turn. And so the more things that you're adding to this, the links, I still think you're just fine. It's still a lot better, I think, I personally feel, than a mandrel. But the more length and segments of this stuff, the more you could get a little bit of wobble going on. Okay, so I need to set up my phone for the comments. Probably need to turn down that light a little bit, and then we'll start turning here. Let's see here, where are we at? My channel, come on. Here we go. Dirty Pens. That's the title that I made. Let's see here. Remove the bunion. Oh, okay. Ugh. Well, heal up quick. Hopefully you'll be back on your feet soon. David's got a question about gluing in tubes. You always use 5-minute epoxy, but if you paint your tube, well, so what's the best? 5-minute epoxy, I mean, it shouldn't really change anything necessarily. The biggest thing is you want to just make sure that you definitely let that paint dry fully cure on there. And then at that point, it really doesn't matter. Go with whatever glue that you typically use. I do it a little bit different. I just use CA glue. I use thick CA glue on the tube. I do things a little bit weird, okay? Let me just cover this real quick and I'll kind of explain kind of what I do. Let me just grab whatever. Let me just grab the other blank here. So let's assume that this didn't already have a tube in it, all right? So what I do is I put, let me just get my setup and I'll kind of show you. Hopefully it'll you'll get what I'm doing. I'm pretty sure I have a video on how I do this, but I have one of those little tools that holds your tube. And what I do is I spread thick, the CA thick. And it doesn't really matter, but just in case somebody cares, I use the Star Bond thick, and I spread that onto my tube, and I actually take a popsicle stick and actually spread it in. I don't know, I can't tell you that this is going to really make any massive difference. I'm just going to tell you exactly how I do it, and I get good results, so I keep doing it. I don't know if some of this stuff matters or not, but I actually spread it in, spread it all over the tube, and make sure every part is covered. And this stuff has a pretty long open time, the thick. So I can just set this aside once I've spread that glue all over the tube. Then what I do is I'm going to come back, and I don't have, I want to show you guys, okay, here we go. So this is, the label fell off, the one that I actually used, but then I come back with the super fast thin from Star Bond. And what I do is I douse the inside of my blank with that. And then I just put my tube in, and I do it like, you know, kind of like most people do. You grab it, kind of turn it around a little bit while you're pushing it in. And that's what I do. Set it aside. And then the big thing is I leave these overnight. I'm not going to turn it the same day. And I think that is an important thing, making sure that your glue, and I don't care if you're using CA glue or 5-minute epoxy or whatever, I really think that leaving it for like overnight is a good idea. Let it fully cure, and I think that's going to solve a lot of the problems that people have with gluing. But the thing about the thin CA, so you may look at this method and kind of be like, okay, so you put thick on the tube, and then you put thin on the inside of the blank. Why do I do that? And the reason that I do that, for just a normal resin blank, well, number one, it just occurs to me that in most cases, people tell you to put glue on both surfaces. Okay, so I don't know if it's totally necessary, but that's just something that people generally do, and that's generally a good way to go. The thin sets up extremely fast though, and so I'm not going to do this on a wood blank. Okay, the moisture in the wood is going to set this stuff up immediately, and so it's not good. This is only done on resin blanks and, you know, blanks that are like a hybrid type of deal. And one of the big reasons that I do that is, so think about like let's see if I have any of these things. Think about like a honeycomb blank, or well, let's see here. I'm just trying to show you guys a few examples here. Here's a honeycomb. Even this one's a good example, I think. And yeah, the pinstripes too. Okay, so I do a lot of things that include embedded materials. And so like this is an aluminum honeycomb. And I think this is probably the best example right here, aluminum honeycomb, right? So this has a tube in it right now, but before the tube goes in, what I do is I douse the inside of the blank with that thin, the super thin CA. And what that's going to do, and I do believe that this actually is important. Dousing it with the super thin CA on the inside of the blank, what that's going to do is the thin CA is going to seep into any areas where if there was like a little bit of a crack, a gap, an area where there wasn't really good bonding between the resin and the aluminum honeycomb, it's going to fill that from the inside. So it's kind of similar to the idea of, you know, sometimes people will recommend dousing a blank when you're turning it with CA. And again, what it's doing is it's seeping in any cracks, any problem areas, and gluing it together. I'm doing that from the inside though, all right? And I think that that's super important. And so for like my pinstripe blanks, again, there could be little areas where there might be a little crack or something like that. Random weird materials, you know, choya, anything like that. That's why I do the thin CA on the inside, and I truly do believe that actually makes a difference. But I think bare minimum, I don't, you know, if you're getting good results, I don't change anything. But I do highly recommend, if nothing else, make sure that you don't turn the blank the same day that you glue it, because I think that's the most important thing out of all of it. All right, so let's get this thing started. I've given you, I've talked enough. Let's get to turning here. Let me open up my blast gates. Got to turn on the dust collector. So hopefully that kind of answered your question. Yeah. So let me just break this off so I can kind of show Myra what's going on. That's really close. I'm gonna give myself a little bit more space here. Okay, so the live center. Hopefully, let me make sure that you guys can see what's going on here. Get the camera set up right. We'll get started in a minute sometime. I'm going to turn the light down too because it tends to kind of blow out the camera. Okay, so on the tailstock side, this side, you know, this is my tailstock that moves. Let me get this thing out of the way. You know, tailstock side, the live center is the one that spins. All right, and then this side is the dead center. This one does not rotate. It's just this, you know, it's a Morse taper. And so this is the one that drives it, you know. So with the lathe spinning, this drives the piece, and then this one freely moves. All right, and then you get your and you need to use the TBC style bushings because they've got a 60-degree chamfer on the inside, and so it mates up to these centers. Okay, so that's all you need. And you know, a lot of people get perfectly good results with their mandrels. I hated them. I never got good results with them. So many years ago, I switched over and I haven't looked back. But you know, bare minimum, like you're just guaranteed to, because you're holding the piece between, like, closer, like almost holding the workpiece. It's not going to wobble at all. You're going to get the straightest concentric turn that way. I think that's kind of a matter of physics. I've just never really seen one of those mandrels. Like, I mean, I can't tell you how many mandrels I've bought that were literally bent out of the box. I mean, you're losing, you can't win at that point. And the only thing that I could do is I would only turn one blank, because the farther out that mandrel goes, if it is wobbling, it's going to be more accentuated the further away from the headstock you go. So I would only use one side anyway, but it's still, all of them wobbled that I ever had. And there may be better ones out there today. I don't know. I switched many years ago, but I've never had an issue with these. So I haven't, you know, it's just what I use now. Okay, here we go. And I'm just using a standard cutter. It's just because that's what's on there already. But you know, definitely the negative rakes generally do a little bit better with resins. The difference is the standard cutters work fine. The thing is, if you mess up with a standard cutter, you're gonna pay. Like, it's gonna be a gouge. Whereas you could pretty much just bump the negative rake ones into the workpiece and you're not gonna really get a catch. So they're very forgiving and they turn extremely well. The standard cutters do cut a little bit more. Like, it's more of like a cutting action rather than like a scrape. But, you know, there's consequences if you mess up. Whereas there's really no consequences. I've never got a catch with a negative rake cutter. And if you're doing materials that are very brittle, it's just a no-brainer at that point. They will help you get through those, you know, if you're turning like an acrylic, a true acrylic blank, or a polyester resin, I would highly recommend just grabbing the negative rake on those. And even some of your you know, mixed material blanks that might have something that's a little bit more on the brittle side. All right, so I'm going to take another pass or two, and then we're going to stop this and kind of see. Because the whole point is we want to see what's on the inside. I'm going to get the camera in the front. I got to plug the camera in too. So let's see what we got here. There we go. I don't know. It's kind of a mixture. It looks really cool. But we didn't really get a lot of layering or patterning. It's kind of an interesting, there's a little bit of pattern to it. I don't know. I like the look of it though. But it didn't really give you any like smaller, what I was kind of hoping for, like really altering how much of the purple, you know, mostly white and then a little bit of purple. What I was trying to go for was like little thin banding, but kind of all, you know, it just the way that works. I don't know how, you know, the dirty pour method, the way that we did it, pouring them all into like a big cup, you just end up getting thin bands. I think it really does kind of multiply it together to get thinner areas, even if you got a very, like, I don't know, like it'd almost be like we'd have to, I think the way to get what I was going for with this, where it's, you know, a very small amount of the purple and then a lot of white, I think what we'd have to do is, like, you know, in that main cup, like dump a little, just tiny bits around and then just kind of swirl it up, rather than trying to layer it like we did. I don't know, like I said, there's a lot of different ways to do this, to do that dirty pour type of technique. Still trying to kind of figure out, you know, how do you do certain things? What can we expect if you do it a little bit differently? So I gotta plug this camera in before it dies. There we go. All right, here we go. Let's turn this guy up, finish her up. Are you guys zoom? No, you're good. Yeah, definitely not the like exactly the pattern, but I do like, it's like elegant, you know? It's kind of an interesting thing, but so far, I think the big takeaway for me, we've tried, you know, like 4 slightly different ways of doing this dirty pour. And it seems like if you're gonna do it where you just layer it like that, regardless of like the amounts and all that stuff, I think you're gonna get pretty closely packed together, you know, colors, you know. I don't know, we'll have to see once we turn this other one how that looks, but I just think that that's kind of what, you know, what you should expect doing it the way that we've done it, or similar to that. All right, I think we're just about there. Maybe just a little bit more on this side. Okay, time for the wet sanding. We can turn off the, oh God, dropping the thing. Turn off the dust collection. Slow this guy down. Let's see here. Yeah, I think it will shine up like pretty nice. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, it's like I said, not exactly the pattern, but it's weird. It's almost like it's like this quilted together pattern. And I think it'll show up a little bit better if I could zoom it in, but I think once we get this polished a little bit, it's interesting because you just turn it and there's white and purple going on everywhere, which is pretty cool. Got a little bit of a kind of a straight stripe here. So it kind of must have rolled down the side of the tube. Here's the other thing. I mean, this is just one of the blanks. And as you're pouring that resin out of the cup, it changes a little bit. It seems like you've got more separation of the colors on like the first blank, and then it kind of tends to get more tight as you're pouring more of the resin out. So I don't know. It's kind of this is one of the tough things about like testing new techniques or a different blank kind of thing like this. I mean, realistically, I mean, I'd almost have to really turn all the blanks in the mold to see, you know, what can I expect, you know, from the first one that I poured. Is there variation between the 7 that I poured? You know, which makes it kind of tough, right? So, and a lot of times I will do that kind of, you know, that's why a lot of times it takes me quite a while to actually bring a new blank, you know, into the mix to actually start selling a blank, aside from the ones that I call short runs or like the limited editions, you know. It's because I want to do a lot of testing, and in some cases I may have to, you know, pour 5 to 10 batches before I'm very certain that, and I'll be right back, guys. I gotta change the water out for this. But you know, I'll probably pour, some of them don't need like 10 batches poured, you know, if it's just a color mix and there's nothing else really going on, it's just certain colors, then that typically isn't going to require me to turn a bunch of blanks. But for anything that it's like a new technique or I don't know, you know, I'm just not 100% sure because I poured one batch, you know, it could turn out different, get different results in some cases. So I like to do a lot of testing to make sure, because the problem is, what I don't want to do is unload, you know, these blanks that everybody's like, oh, these are the greatest things on the planet, and then I can't reproduce them. You know, that would be the worst. So I'm kind of careful on certain things, trying to make sure that, you know, okay, this wasn't a fluke. I didn't just get some random results on this one pour. And I think for most people, if you're just like making pens, like, you know, I don't know that you need to go to those kind of extremes, because you're probably not going to necessarily have to sell, like if you don't sell blanks to the masses kind of thing, then you don't really need to do all this stuff. And you can also kind of get away with like, oh, this is a special, you know, there's only 7 available kind of thing. Like you can kind of use that to your advantage. I got to cut some more sandpaper here real quick. I ran out. So I'm going to start with 600 grit, and I'm fully convinced at this point the wet dry, your silicon carbide I really do think that it does the best at this point. So I'm going to go with 600, and then we're going to go up to 1,000. And I'm gonna bring the camera over here while I do this. It's going to take a couple seconds, and I'll just kind of show you how I do this. I don't know. It's not that amazing, but I'll give you something to look at while I'm doing it. Zoom that out. Okay. So I just got one of these guys, and for me, this is the easiest way. I can just, make whatever size I want. It's got little lineup marks. That's not right. I just do that, and then I move it over maybe an inch. And I'm totally wrecking this blade. I mean, you don't really want to cut sandpaper, so if you get one of these things, make sure it's cheap and you can replace the blade eventually, and that's not super expensive either. But it sure does make things really fast. All right, and I just cut it out of I start with an 8.5 by 11 sheet. So here's some 600 grit, and I need to make some 1,000 as well. I'm not 100%. I still think that you're probably a little bit better off going 600, 800, 1,000 or something like that, or maybe like a 600, 800, 1,200. That's probably going to give you the best results, being a little bit closer with your grits. I think you'll probably have less times where you run into those scratches at the end that you're like, where did that come from? Just because you're kind of skipping up. So the thing is, you just have to make sure if you're going to skip from 600 to 1,000, you need to make sure that you give a good enough amount of time with your I went way too far. With your 1,000 grit to make sure that you're getting all the 600 grit scratches out. It's a little bit of a far jump. Like 600, 800, 1,000 is probably a little bit better, but it's totally doable to just go 600, 1,000 if you are a little bit more diligent with the 1,000. Okay, and I use that thing for the Zona papers when I use those. And the Zona works really, really well too. I'm on the fence because I really liked the Zona, but it just seems like if you use 600 grit with the silicon carbide, it just seems like it works better. It takes off more material than the green, the green Zona paper does. I don't know. It may also have to do with the fact that the paper's a little bit more rigid. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. But this 600 just feels more rough than the Zona green. So, I don't know. I've been getting good results. I flip-flop a lot. You never know. Yeah, I think it's more dulling the trimmer. I don't know, because I use scissors also. I used to, when I was using Abernet, and I still love Abernet for a lot of things, but I would just use a pair of scissors to cut this out. And I'll tell you what, if you try and cut paper with those scissors afterwards, it doesn't seem to work too well. But it seems to cut the sandpaper still just fine. So I don't know. Yeah, just be aware that you're going to be using that probably for. Don't pull your good craft slicer out that you use for like papers and stuff like that. That ain't gonna work so great. Buy a dedicated one, a cheap one. Oh, I forgot to show you guys. So Mike Vitellio sent me some cool stuff. I don't know if you guys saw the post, and I feel bad because I realized he's not even on Instagram, I don't think. And I'm like, oh, go follow him. And I'm like, oh, I can't find him. I forgot to show you guys though. I'm going to show you over on the main screen over here. Really cool stuff. And so I'll be turning this up sometime. Oh, that's the wrong one. Yeah, check this out. I think he was making some end grain cutting boards, and he sent a couple of blanks made with them. So I got to turn these guys up sometime. That'll be fun. I haven't turned, it's funny, I haven't turned something that was actually all wood. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I did that. And then this is really cool. He sent me a pen, and he was saying that he's been playing around with, oh God, this camera's just not working. He's been playing around with quilt fabric. So he mounted quilt fabric onto the tube, and then he also mounted one of my stickers, and it matches perfect. Look at that. Isn't that a beautiful pen? Turn it around the right way. How about that? Really cool. I've never done quilt fabric like that, like mounted. We've made some blanks that used quilt fabric where it was kind of more like a micarta type of blank. We just kind of jammed a bunch in a mold, basically. But I've never done it where it was mounted like that. It's really cool. So just wanted to share that. So big thank you to Mike. Okay, let's do some more sanding here. Back to the sanding. Are we on the right camera? Oh, I dropped my thing. Oh, you can't really see it. What's happening here? There we go. Everybody's favorite part, the sanding. Although if you want to take a nap, you know, this is a good sleep aid, better than melatonin. Sanding. Yeah, I could do that. I'm too lazy to. I think they just sell replacements that you just snap in there, so just 10 times easier. We'll see. It's still cutting fine. It still works good. It's weird, like you know, there's kind of a debate. Am I sharpening it or dulling it? And it seems like the stuff works great if you just continue cutting sandpaper with it. But it kind of tends to want to just shred paper. It doesn't cut like fine things very well. I don't know. All right, I think that might be good. I'm going to give it a little bit of lengthwise. And I do this pretty lightly. I'm not putting pressure. Kind of just like sort of resting my fingers on it. And that's just creating kind of a cross hatch so that all the scratches aren't kind of going the same direction. You're kind of creating a grid pattern. And I do think that actually, I don't think it's just a visual thing. I think that actually helps. And there's a few different theories as to why that may be the case, but I just, you know, if you've ever done one of those headlight restoration kits, they recommend doing that because, again, you know, what are you doing there? You're just sanding plastic, basically, polishing it. And so I do think there is something to that. I'm not 100% sure exactly what that does. You know, I have some theories, but I do think that it actually does help. It's beneficial to do that cross scratch, whatever. Yeah, all you do is take naps. Yeah. Well, and that's fine though. You need the rest to recover. At least right off the bat, for sure. You know, so. Just rest up, let the body heal up, and then you'll be back on your feet in no time. Make sure to do good PT, though. Very important. That's one of the problems, you know. So I re-injured my knee, and like I've just been a sack, basically. And I don't know, part of me, a big part of me knows that physical therapy is very important, especially while I'm sitting here waiting to figure out what's actually going to happen. Am I having surgery or not? If I do have surgery, it would be more beneficial to not be like muscle atrophied before the surgery, depending on the severity of the surgery or whatever. But at the same time, I haven't really been able to like walk, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I just haven't done anything because nobody knows exactly what's wrong with my knee. So I'm like, whatever. I'm just going to let my body rest for a while. Oh, and one other thing, guys. At this point, I'm kind of thinking I'm probably not going to be going to the AAW in Portland. I have difficulty walking in Costco. The thought of that, walking around in Costco, is kind of exhausting to my knee right now. And so going to a convention, just, I don't think that would be the best thing. And I'm not going to have that doctor's appointment until after. The doctor's appointment's on the 26th, I want to say, and I think AAW's on the 20th. So I think I'm going to skip that, but what I might do is just swap out, and now I'm thinking I might just go to the SWAT turning symposium. We'll have to see. I'll give you an update. I don't know. Yesterday, literally, my knee was feeling great. And I could kind of walk normal because I'm still limping, basically, and it's been months. So we'll have to just kind of see. I'll update you guys on what I decide. But I think at this point, I don't know that it would be particularly great to go walk around a convention. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to kind of, obviously not polished yet, but it still gives you, and actually, I got to be honest, this would probably be a decent candidate for a, I'm going to turn down the light just a little bit more, for doing like a satin finish. Like that's nice looking, I think. But see how like there's like white and purple going on in weird kind of different banding as you turn it. It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of an interesting pattern. Not exactly what I was going for, but it's really, really interesting how it turned out. So if I was going to go for a satin finish on this, I would sand up to 2000 and then I'd be done. I don't know what to do, because that's really interesting. The nice thing is we can polish it. You can go full gloss, and then if you're like, I think I liked the satin better, it's easy. And then you just sand it with 2000 grit sandpaper and you're back to satin. So this is a really simple one. If you're unsure what type of the look you want, then you can very easily flip-flop. So let's go ahead and we'll go for the full polish here real quick. I got my little caddy. This thing is so awesome. I've been using the heck out of this thing. So big thank you to Mark for that. But we're going to go with our magic juice. So let's polish it up. Let's see what it looks like fully polished. And then if I'm like, I don't know, I think I like that satin better, then I'll just give it a quick, you're basically just dulling it down again with some 2000 grit, and we'll move on. The only drawback is I didn't need to polish it if I decide to go for the satin finish, but not that hard. It takes maybe, 2 minutes to go from this to fully polished, and then maybe a minute to drop it back down. Yeah, and actually with PT, I don't know. I've been to 2 different PT, physical therapists, and the first one I really didn't like. She wasn't bad, she really wasn't what I was looking for. And then I went to another place, and they were better, sorta. I don't know, still not exactly what I'm I'm just surprised by when people don't do any testing, you know, mobility testing and flexibility and all these things. Like there's no baseline and there's no progress. They're just like, do this exercise, do the, you know, okay, great. It feels fine. How's your pain? But there's other ways of doing things where you can kind of track your progress that so far the physical therapists that I've had haven't been doing that. And it's kind of weird to me. I don't really like it. So I don't know. I don't know if maybe I'm chasing something that's not actually real, but whoa. What is making noise here? Something's clicking. All right, so we got step 1. To be honest, I mean, honestly, you could end with step 1. And I've seen a lot of pens that people are actually selling that are less glossy than just step 1. Yeah, I don't know. I think the glossy is a little bit better than matte. Is it focused? I can't see. Let me put my glasses on and see. Yeah, that looks focused. Yeah, I think gloss is better. So we made the right choice. Matte was okay. Gloss is a little better, I think, though. All right, so we did step 1. Let's move on to step 2. Scooter? Yeah, rent a scooter, I know. I've seriously, like, just walking around the, okay, so I think I'm still faster limping than I would be doing one of the carts. But I mean, I've seriously thought about just getting one of those carts out because it's just, it's been not fun. But those little things where you can just like kneel on the little scooter thing, like I was like, I could totally go for that. That would make things like getting around in the shop way easier. But again, you don't really want to just not like stop moving and but I don't know. I mean, they may just be doing surgery on this thing, so I don't know. I was like, you know what? I really worked my butt off doing PT on that first round between November and, February. And I was just like, I'm done. Because it resulted in me just hurting myself again. So I'm just going to laze around, I think. Yeah, I really don't think I've found a good one. The problem is I don't know if there are good ones because I really think that the healthcare system in Nevada is terrible. Doctors are just like leaving. I don't think the doctors get paid particularly well here. The insurance companies are horrible. I mean, I know that health insurance and the healthcare system in this country is kind of messed up, but I think it's worse. It was never particularly good in Nevada, I don't think. So now it's, I think, possibly a little bit worse. I don't know. It's definitely one of those things where, you don't know until you find something better. Then you're like, wow, that was horrible. Am I on 3? I don't know. I think I'm on step 3. Yeah, the knee scooter. I know. Another thing with the physical therapy thing is it just seems like nobody knows what's wrong actually with my knee so far. And I'm like, there's got to be some tests. Like I feel like there's certain things with my I think that I've got some deficiencies in, like where you have like a muscle imbalance, like strength imbalancing. going on, but also possibly where you have like kind of mobility problems where like my leg is moving weird, and that like my question is, what caused this meniscus tear? Like nobody can seem to give me any besides, oh, your meniscus was messed up. Well, all I did was basically take a step. I didn't like twist my knee or anything both times. So it's kind of a weird thing. I feel like maybe there's like some sort of weird thing going on when I'm running. Nobody seems to want to really test it. They're just like, I don't know, do these exercises. Okay. All right, step 6. Yeah, I know it's tough to find good help. Good help is so hard to find these days. My day. Okay, here we go. The big reveal, guys. Woo! Look at that. That's pretty striking. Like I said, it's like this weird kind of quilty, fluffy look. A little bit of striping going on the back. It's not bad. I really do like that. Like I said, not exactly what I was going for necessarily, but striking. Very nice. Okay, so let's move this guy back here. I'm going to set this aside, and then we'll start on the other one first. And again, for anybody that's kind of just joining us, I was having an issue. This side of the tube, it's not glue or anything. Like I tried clearing it out, but it's almost like it's bent or something like that. And I couldn't get my normal TBC bushing in. Well, now it's working, it seems like, but it wouldn't go before. So what I did was I find that the standard bushings are typically pretty, like they're not the right size. You know, they're smaller. There's a lot of slop usually in the standard bushings. And so I just grabbed my adapters to convert it to a TBC. That way, that's a good reason to keep, you know, your standard bushings around, is if you ever have a tube that you just can't seem to get those TBC bushings in because they're so accurate. It can kind of save the day if you've got the old ones. Because otherwise, like, I mean, I could have maybe jammed that thing in there, but I don't know if I would have got it out, basically. Not to say I don't necessarily recommend going out and buying standard bushings if you, you know, just for that problem. But if you've already got the TBC bushings, or I'm sorry, if you've already got the standard bushing, you know, I would not recommend getting rid of them. Because they still can be a little bit useful for certain things, you know. Where did the little baggie go? I really got to get organized over here. This is just, I got junk all over the place. Okay, so let's get our bushings out. So the second one, here's the second one, guys. This one's really intriguing. Definitely think that, I mean, there's definitely a place for this type of technique, but I do really feel like your color choice, you know, the color combinations that you're going to go with, I think can heavily dictate how it looks in the end, you know, like how good it looks. I don't know, that the bronze that we had, or whatever color in the first round. Now, again, there was not enough mica powder in those, but it just looked like mud. And this was the first time where I've seen like a mica powder not really look that good. I don't know. And like I was saying earlier, a lot of times, you know, if you darker colors can kind of take over a blank, and that brown, you know, kind of took over. What color was that? Was that bronze that we used? I think it was bronze. I'm going to look it up real quick. Yeah, bronze. We used a lot of dark colors in that, and it seemed like everything kind of, where are those blanks at? It just felt muddy to me in the end. We got a couple blanks that look kind of cool, but the majority of the blanks just kind of were very muddy. I don't know. Kind of cool, but very dark. I like these better. I don't know. Might just be personal preference too. Okay, so let's get to turning this guy. Just gonna leave these gloves on. They're not gonna hurt anything. But again, just the disclaimer, you don't want to be wearing gloves typically when you're turning, but something like a nitrile glove is not gonna be dangerous. And I don't plan to get my fingers in there anyway. Really anxious to see what this thing looks like on the inside. All right, I think that's enough. I don't know. I'm seeing some pretty cool colors, it looks like, while it's spinning. So let's get this thing zoomed in a little bit. Stop it. Woo! Wow. Well, we did get some. That's interesting. There's like lines. Huh. Well, okay, I didn't expect that at all. Huh. It's like solid purple, solid silver, and we got some lines here. That's weird. I don't know what's going on, guys. One thing's for certain, I definitely don't have this dirty pour thing. I don't know what's gonna happen. It seems uncontrollable at this point. Let's keep going and see if maybe it changes as we go in. I really think that this is like a weird one, like the first pour or something like that. Let's see what this looks like now. Huh. We got more of the lines here in the green. Yeah, there's a little bit more going on in here the deeper we go, but we're getting pretty close to the... I don't know. That's why it's good to do experiments, because what you thought is not necessarily what's going to be. Okay, the farther we went in, the more effect. I didn't put much camber on this one. It's pretty flat and thin. I'm gonna take one more real quick pass. And that's how a lot of people do it anyway. Still got a little bit of a bump on that right side. Just a tiny bit there. All right, so let's polish this guy up and see what we got. These things have been so David was asking, have I ever mixed pens? Well, to be honest, I don't really make a lot of pens. You know, honestly, it's not like I go to shows and do all that stuff. I don't really even market or sell my pens on my website or anything. However, having said that, I totally would. And down the road, you know, I think I've mentioned it before, guys. I am starting up a kind of a pen division side of my business that's going to be called Tahoe Pen Company, and we're still in the, you know, I haven't like got a website and a business name and all that kind of stuff set up yet, but I think that's the direction that we're going to go. And you know, eventually I do want to start selling that, and in that case, heck yeah, you know, I'm going to mix and match some stuff. I think that makes it really fun, you know. I think it's going to be a little bit more focused on the kitless, you know, bespoke pens, or, you know, whichever way you want to, whatever terminology you want to use. I really enjoy making those. You know, a lot of the new blanks being round and everything, they suit themselves to that type of a pen. And like I said, I kind of enjoy them, but I still enjoy, obviously, we're making kit pens today. And I still like making those. So eventually I'll start kind of putting stuff up like that, but I don't really make a lot of pens. Most of what we do on the stream is I'm kind of testing things. So, you know, I do a lot of, there's less mix and match gonna happen, just because the focus for me on this blank is to just see what it looks like on the inside. Not so much the final pen. But it's very fun to do that. And that's something that, you know, getting into, I would like to start making more of the kitless, you know, pens, bespoke pens, just so I can kind of play around a little bit more. And, you know, to be honest, you know, peeking behind the curtain, I mean, frankly, it just makes sense for me to make more pens in that style, because I think a lot of people are like, wow, that looks great. You know, I feel like maybe this is just a weird perception, and it's my own. I personally kind of like the kitless pens a little bit better, but I think that they're just a little bit more impressive sometimes than some of the kit pens, and especially since I'm making the bespoke length on the newer, you know, a lot of my newer pen blanks, they're all, you can get them in either size. It seems to make sense to just start making some pens out of my blanks for marketing purposes, really. You know, partly, not strictly for that. I just want to make some more pens, but it all goes hand in hand, you know. Do a little bit of marketing, make a pen, and that's kind of why I'm setting up that division where I want to make more pens with my blanks so that people can see what they look like. It's hard to just take a picture of a blank and be like, well, good luck, you know. No example whatsoever. I want to get some examples up. Yeah, doing the section with different materials is pretty cool. I mean, even just putting black on, you know, is kind of just to kind of break up the, you know, the colors a little bit. Another way that you can kind of mix and match stuff is if you do a clip, if you put a clip on the cap, you can kind of create that top part. You can create a different color there. On the bottom of the body, you could create a different color on that, and kind of piece together a bunch of different, kind of, like accent colors type thing. But it could be, like any color. It doesn't have to be like a solid color or black or something like that. You could do whatever. But it is kind of funny. I've seen, a number of pens that just have a black section, and I'm like, wow, that looks good. And it's super simple. There's nothing going on there, obviously. Just adds a little bit of contrast to the colors, Did I do that right? Yeah, okay. Did I do the lengthwise? I don't really feel like I did the lengthwise. I don't know what's going on. I think I did the lengthwise now. Just in case. Somebody's not paying attention to what he's doing. So, I was talking about the color combinations on these might, I mean, this kind of goes for any blank really, but I think a lot of times, we've put a bunch of random colors together on the stream, and I don't know, I mean, it's very rare that I'm like, that doesn't really look that good. Typically, you can pick pretty much just about any mica powder color, slap it all together in a pot, and it looks fine. On these, because the colors are so close, I do think that it might help to really put a little bit more thought into, what colors are you really putting together with this. And this is an area where one of those color wheels can really help out, because it'll show you what the complementary colors are, and that kind of tells you what goes together a little bit better. So if you don't have a color wheel and you're going to be making blanks, you're trying to put some different colors together, it really does help for ideas, and just to make sure that will these colors look pretty good together? Do they work? Because some colors to the eye just tend to look better, and that's what they call these complementary colors. And the color wheels have that information on it. So if you, let me go grab, I'm going to show you guys what a color, if you're not familiar with what a color wheel is, you can just pick them up on Amazon or wherever. Let's see, where's the color wheel? There it is, color wheel. A guide to mixing color, what it says. All right, so, and it's got these little dials, and you can kind of, you have to kind of a little bit read the instructions and stuff, but it kind of shows you, you can spin it around, and you're like, okay, if blue violet was my color, then it would look good with these ones or these ones, or you could put 4 colors together, and that would be a good mixture. So there's different ways of putting colors together that can look better in the end if you use the complementary colors and color relationships, it says. So there's a lot of really good information on this thing, that can kind of really help you out if you're trying to kind of put colors together. And then if you're trying to come up with like, how do I get a certain color, the other side shows you, okay, if I added red to blue, then I would get this purple color. And it's not 100% perfect on all that stuff, but it definitely does help if you're trying to, come up with and try to match colors and stuff like that. Like sometimes you can have all these colors in front of you and you're like, I don't know what to add to get to where I want to be. And that color wheel can definitely help you along that path. It's not going to give you the formula to get the perfect thing, but it'll give you the direction that you need to start moving in the right direction, you know, to get to the result that you want. And there's, you know, you probably don't even necessarily need to buy a color wheel. You could probably just find this information. There's probably websites that are free, apps that you can put on your phone that can help out as well. All right, so let's go get our, let's see here. Go back to our magic juice. I think definitely this one needs to be a little bit brighter. This is kind of an interesting thing, being, you know, on the just satin kind of side. I think, again, you know, nothing hurts to go up to gloss and then come back down if you want. Okay, let's see what that looks like. I always like to stop after number 1 because oh wow, that is pretty cool. Okay, so this turned out good in the end. I really think the rest of these blanks, I think this one might have been a weird one. Like I said, the outside just had a lot of purple and a lot of green and like silver. It was kind of a weird thing. I really didn't expect that. But on the inside, this thing's got, you know, those layers that we really want. I'll just wait until I finish the polishing and I'll give you guys a good close-up. But so in the end, that's actually what I expected right there, kind of. So I don't know. This I still, you know, definitely don't think that I've figured out the dirty pour technique. I have an idea of what to expect. I don't know. There's the number 2. Likes to wrap up on your blank. I'm going to redo that because that just didn't seem like it really worked. Okay. That seemed a little bit better there. Oh yeah, yeah. A lot of, like, you know, painters and stuff use the color wheels, obviously, but yeah, it definitely, you know, and you were just talking about like different blanks. You know, it also goes with that. Like, okay, I want to kind of put, you know, I got this, you know, purple blank. What colors might go with it, and that can kind of maybe give you an idea of what to, if you wanted to do a different cap and barrel, or I mean cap and body. And even, you know, section possibly. So it kind of can help you put together combinations, you know, that might look good. All right, so on to step number 4. I mean, you know, it heavily influences me, the, you know, colors. For doing different types of blanks. I mean, a lot of the blanks that I, you know, really started out doing were like the team colors. So that's easy. I'm just trying to kind of match or copy color combinations from that. But, you know, when you're trying to come up with, like, you know, these like kind of bespoke blanks, the problem is it has to be striking. Like, it has to be visually pleasing to sell those types of blanks. And to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I never really got into that kind of stuff off the bat. It's much easier to take a theme like, you know, a team color. There are people looking for team color. You know, let's just say like the, you know, the Seahawks. You know, a pen blank with the Seahawks colors. That's something that people are actually looking for. I would say, like, on the internet, there are probably less people looking for, you know, some kind of random, like this purple, teal, and silver. You know, like, that's not a thing that people are really like looking for. They have to see it. and it's got to be striking to make somebody want to buy it, I think. And so it's a little bit like the marketing of just random blanks, unless there's some sort of a theme to it, let's say, that's like searchable. It's kind of hard. Now, if you make a really cool looking blank though, and then post some stuff on Instagram, then it's less about what are the, you know, what is it, purple and teal, you know, whatever. When people visually see it and it looks awesome, that color wheel is a big deal at that point, you know. It definitely helped you to choose something that is going to stand out. And if you're selling pens, you know, there are just those complementary colors. That's not just some random, you know, painting thing. Those are visually pleasing to the eye, those combinations. They work well together. And people are going to be more drawn to the combinations that are on that wheel than things that are not complementary. They're going to kind of make you want to wince. If you're putting a bunch of non-complementary colors together, it's going to just kind of be like, ugh. All right, check this out, guys. Let's see if I can't see. Falling apart, guys. I can't see. My knees don't work. I think I got a shoulder problem. Okay, so focusing. Look at those bands. That's cool. And there are even, so I think one of the issues is there are bands in this purple, but it's silver, and the purple kind of takes over the silver a bit. You're kind of better off going for like two colors that are very contrasty, dark and a light maybe. But I think that's pretty cool. Not bad. Again, not necessarily exactly what I don't know. This is way more along the lines of what I had in mind. But definitely looks cool. So here's I don't know. Here's the big deal with these with the dirty pours. I think it's a really good way to have a little bit of fun with color. At this point, I mean, I don't think that I would make blanks that I'm going to keep in inventory. It seems to be too uncontrollable. Like, I don't know what the results are necessarily going to be on like the patterning and all that kind of stuff. So I think it'd be hard for me to say, yeah, I'm going to start selling these, you know, some specific pattern. But I'll tell you what, I think it's fun. I mean, I haven't really, besides the ones that didn't have enough mica really in them, I think that really killed those, and that was just my fault, right? But even you know, I felt like those blanks were a little bit on the muddy look side, but I mean, they weren't bad. They weren't terrible. They were fun to make. And I think that that's definitely something, you know, if you want to get into the dirty pour tech, or, you know, start doing that. I think it's a fun way to throw a bunch of colors together and just kind of see what you get. It's kind of like the flip cup method. You know, you don't know, you have no clue what that's why I don't do those a lot. You're like, I don't know what I'm going to get. You know, it's just going to be a bunch of colors together. But they're definitely fun to do. So I don't know. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to clear the area here. We'll get our, oh, here's my TBC adapter bushing bag. That's what I was looking for. Before I forget, I'm going to put those away so I don't lose them. Put them in the special drawer thing that I have. And got to get my, so I think what I'm going to do is we're going to take apart the other one that I made with the Elemental series, or Element series. I always just put a little thing down just because, I don't know. There's typically resin or dye or something. There's always something on this thing that I'm going to stick the pens in. I don't know, that's not that bad. It's not my favorite though. So I think I'm going to disassemble this one that we made last week. So, and this will be good to, I can kind of show you how I do this. This is aluminum. I'll be a little bit more careful with this one. Got to grab a couple of supplies really quickly here. So let's try and see if we can take this apart without damaging the kit. Now this, this is exactly what why I bought this. I bought this one because it's actually a pen disassembly tool. It has been a long time since I disassembled a pen though. So I got to think about how this thing actually works. I think. I gotta be honest, guys, I don't know exactly how this thing works now. It's been so long. Oh, I know how it works. Okay. Hold on. Forgetting something here. Okay. So you hold the blank on where the RAM is. Okay. So you get these. Okay. So here we go. I'm gonna get you guys zoomed in. I had to just kind of think about this for a second. So you unloosen this thing, take it out, and you're actually putting your pen blank on the inside of this thing. So you're going to put your tube and all that stuff on the inside. I'm going to really take this thing apart here. And this little rubber sleeve helps to kind of keep it. You got to make sure you're not crimping down on your clip. And you don't want to tighten this too far. Okay, make sure that thing's not going to go anywhere. And then what you do is you put your ramrod in there, find your spot, and then you just push. You're hoping. I'm going to tighten it down just a little bit more. Instead of, so the other way that I would normally do this is I'm like hammering on it, right? And that ain't good. Problem is, I think this kit was kind of tight to fit in there. Yeah. This is a toughie. Let me take this thing out and see where we're at. Sometimes you need to just smack it. I'm a little bit hesitant to do that with an aluminum only kit. Yeah, we didn't even make any, didn't even make a dent, didn't even move it. Okay, so we're gonna go for alternative number 2. And I think, let's see here. So what I like to do is, I'm gonna put this thing back together because I don't think we're gonna use this necessarily. This thing works pretty good, but I remember this one was a pretty tight one. It didn't fit in the tube as well. So what I like to do is I'm gonna move this out of the way and I'm gonna grab like a t-shirt or something soft. And this is basically just kind of a pillow to grab our components. And then you're gonna grab yourself a punch, and you need to find a punch that fits in one end of your kit but doesn't come out the other side. All right, and so I found that. And I'm just gonna hold this with my hand, and I'm gonna smack this sucker, all right? And it's starting to move. But you need to use a real hammer, and you're gonna use this punch. And it helps to have gloves on. I highly recommend wearing nitrile gloves, otherwise there's really no way to like hold onto your blank. You don't want to, you want to try not to crush the, the blank or anything like that, or the clip. But eventually, see, it's coming. It's just slowly but surely. Don't call me Shirley. But I like having that pillow because eventually it's going to shoot out of there. And you don't want it to just land on the, fly off onto the concrete. So now you need to go find another punch that fits in this side but doesn't come out the other end. So let's do that. That work? No. My punches, this one is going to be the same one that you would use to do the, if you're using one of those squaring jigs. And generally you want to find a punch that fits into that first hole pretty tightly, squarely, so it's not like flopping around in the tube. You don't want it to have a lot of wiggle. You want it to fit in the first side pretty tight, okay? Just move that piece and then do some more smacking. It's coming. Takes a little bit of time. There we go. We got our components. The big thing is, though, you kind of have to watch out, and you may kind of put some scratches in your blank. You might need to do a little bit of polishing or whatever. Just be aware of that. Sometimes it's kind of hard not to damage something, especially when you're just smacking the heck out of it. But it looks like these components held up real nicely. I don't think there's any damage or anything like that to these guys. So we're looking good. So all that to say, you don't need to go buy some fancy thing that disassembles pens. I mean, grab, we need the punch set for if you don't have a punch set yet, I mean, these things are like 10 or 20 bucks, something like that. And they're so useful for pen turning. So definitely go out and get yourself a set of punches because, we're going to use it for disassembly. Do you guys know about the, for many years I've used the, what do they call it? A barrel trimmer, basically, like those things. And I've finally just switched to this. This is a Turner's Warehouse in the Maker Select product. This is the way to go. If you have it, you do need to have a disc sander of some sort, but it's just so simple. Everything works great. And I've gotten good results with this thing. So this is what I use now. It takes way less time. I don't have to sharpen those stupid barrel trimmer things that are really difficult to sharpen and dull in like 2 blanks. And you don't have to worry about wrecking. You know, I really never wrecked a blank using a barrel trimmer. As long as you keep it sharp, it generally works fine. But there is, you know, some blanks are very fragile, and you don't really want to be using, you know, barrel trimmer on it. Okay, so let me stop and see what you guys have to say here. Use the color wheel to choose. Oh, nice. The table covers. Cool. Okay, so hopefully you guys weren't too bored watching that all come apart. I think I want to go. Does it matter which one we go with? What do we have here? So I got 2 of the element kits. I don't know which one. Let's see here. We were going with the stainless steel. That's right. We were going to go with a stainless steel and an aluminum. I wanted to see, the stainless steel is a lot heavier. Here we go. Stainless steel. The aluminum is a very light kit. So if you're somebody that doesn't like heavy pens, the element, this is one of the ones that Turner's Warehouse makes themselves. I mean, they don't make it like at their shop, but like they came up with this entire design. This is basically a Turner's Warehouse kit. So this is the aluminum one, and it's very light. If you like a light pen, this is a great way to go. Let's see here. Gotta make sure I know what I'm doing. All these components here. Okay. In fact, I'm just gonna, no reason not to put this thing like that. Put it in there. This is a pretty good pen assembly tool. There is a better one. I think it's the Milescraft. Chad loves that thing. And it does seem a little bit easier, but this thing's pretty good. That's why I bought it, because it can help on certain difficult things. If you really need to be very careful, having a ramrod style disassembly kind of thing, rather than just beating it. In this case, it just didn't work because that thing was just way too tight. Most kits come apart a lot easier than that one. So just to let you know, this is a pretty good thing for disassembly, but yeah, these almost like the parts are a little bit thick. And then this is actually the kit that probably had like a small tube, or this is the blank that had one end. That's probably the small end. So you just never know. We're gonna put. I really like this front. Here. I don't know which way to go. I really like this, but there's too many things going straight on that side. So we're going to put it like right here, I think. That way we have our kind of quilty look right there. Okay. I'm not certain that I put this thing back together correctly. Whew. That's a tight one. Whew. Okay, got that. Let's hope we don't have to take that one apart. It's a really cool kit. I like the way that they did this. And you just press your little cap thing on. So it's like a Sierra, same tubes and all that kind of stuff. Not bad, not bad. And then you just twist the cap thing up here for your in and out. But like I said, very light kit. I really like that. It's not going to bog you down if you got it in your pocket or anything like that. And then on the other end of the spectrum, this stainless steel, it's got heft to it. So if you like a heavier pen, the stainless is really awesome. I think it's like it's about more than twice the weight. If you just, you know, I did this on a couple, let's see, I'd say 2 weeks ago, I think, when we were turning the other dirty pour pens. I actually weighed the components out, and I want to say that this was like more than twice the weight of the aluminum kit. All right, so I think the little swoops are kind of like, it feels like arrows pointing this way, so I think that's the direction that feels correct. So we'll get this guy on this side. Oh. Nope. Having a tough time with these guys. So one thing that you can do, if you're having, if you find like a certain kit or maybe your tube, or you don't know what's going on, but something's going on where it's really tight, feel free to sand the components back a little bit. I'm going to grab some like 180 grit. Let's see here. Where's the 180? 400. 180. There it is. Yeah, you know, don't be shy. I mean, you got to be careful when you're doing this, but you don't want to sand the actual components themselves, the outsides. But there's no problem. You know, if something's just really tight on the tube, then just sand it back a little bit. I mean, heck, you could even mount it on the lathe and do a little bit of sanding. But so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this thing off. I'm just going to sand this a little bit, and hopefully we can get it to kind of fit just a little bit better. Let me try to be, you know, I'm actually going to rip this, I think, in half. I don't want to scratch up the actual components themselves, you know. But I do, you know, you can take off a little bit of this metal. Stainless steel is probably going to be the harder one. Like, it would have been easier to sand the aluminum, I think, but if you're having some difficulty, don't, you know. No reason not to maybe try and take off some of the, I don't know if I'm on camera or not. It is pretty small, I'm not going to lie. But you could, you know, you could just mount this between your two centers. Which, let's go do that. I'll show you. I think it should work. I got to switch cameras. But it might be just a little bit easier if you know, if you're not trying to hold the thing and sand it and do all this stuff. I think it might work. Let's see here. I don't know if my centers are gonna, the centers might actually touch before it works. Dang. The centers are touching. Oh, my camera's gonna die. Well, that doesn't work so well. There's probably other ways that you could mount this on the lathe and spin it, but I don't want to go into that. So I'll just do this by hand real quick right now. If I come up with a way, you know, and I think about it on the next stream, then, you know, you can get kind of handy with the work holding. Actually, one thing you could do, you could put the tip on and then just like have like a piece of wood or something like that on the drive side maybe. That might work. I don't know. Okay, so let's try this again. See if I can get this, see if that did anything. There we go. It just eased it just a little bit, you know. Okay, so we got one side. Seems a little thin. I don't know. And now the question is, where do I put this thing? Yeah, I think I like it down the middle here with the green and purple bands. I think we're gonna do that. There we go. We got our little transmission part. Working good. And you just slide that thing on. Ooh, that's nice. I like that stainless steel. Very nice. And if you wanted to, again, you could like try to figure out a way to mount this. You could go for like a brushed look on some of these parts. They kind of are a little bit right now. Or if you wanted to go the other way, you technically, you know, it'd be tough holding all this stuff, but you could maybe go for an even more polished look if you wanted. But I really like the look of that. Feels good in the hand. Again, it's heavier, but I don't know. I kind of like that. It feels more substantial in your hand for me. But this one feels equally good, and it just feels like a feather. I really like that. It's like feather light almost, but not too shabby. I really like those lines. Get on the camera here. There we go. And again, it's got interesting things going on all over the place. And there is silver mixed in. It's kind of at a weird angle. It's definitely weird pattern. I like it though, not too bad. All right, so here we go. A chamfer tool. Well, yeah, I do use a chamfer tool on my kits anyway, or you know, on the blanks. And this is the same chamfer tool that I would use, you know, when you're doing the threads on that's where I got it. So I use this when I'm, you know, if I want to, if I'm tapping threads on the inside like the cap, this will chamfer that. But I thought, oh, and I bought it for doing kitless pens, but it works great on, you know, the brass tubes especially after you sand it. So I was showing you that. Let's see if the camera died. I was going to show you. So I have a 12-inch disc sander, and then I use that jig, you know, that has the punch, that holds the punch. All right, so the squaring jig. The thing is, you know, I'm using pretty rough sandpaper, so when the blank, you know, with the tube, I've squared up the end with the tube. That tube is pretty rough because I have a pretty rough, I don't know, it's like a 100 grit or something like that. So that brass tube edge is pretty rough in there. So a lot of times I'll go in and use this thing to kind of put a chamfer on my brass tube, you know, within the, you know, inside the blank anyway. I'm not sure what was going on with that one, but I think it already was. Well, I know it was already chamfered. It was just tight. So anyway, guys, not too bad, not too bad. So the I kind of split it for this month's subscription boxes for the blank folks. I did just kind of a half and half, just random. I grabbed half of them are the purple and white, and then the other half are the purple, silver, and like teal, or I guess it's green, emerald green. So those are going to go into those boxes. I've got a couple left. You saw what I have left. I'm not sure if I'm going to sell them or not. I might kind of hold on to those and do some like a. I've kind of collected a few of the blanks that we've made here and there, and I might do just like a mixed bag kind of blank box that I might just sell down the road, or maybe do like a giveaway with. So I think I'm going to keep those for now, but not too bad. So like I said, I'm slightly mixed feelings, let's say, about the dirty pour technique. In the past, the way that I've done the, dumping it in the cup is I've kind of just, I usually have, let's just say that I just did, I don't know, whatever, 2 colors, 3 colors. I'll mix it up, each color separately, and then I'll just dump one in the other, and then maybe give it a little bit of a mix with the stir stick. I gotta be honest, that works just as good as messing around with layering and doing all that stuff, I think. You get equally mixed up stuff. I don't know. That works fine. I think that we got pretty interesting results in it, but I think my biggest thing about doing the layers, well, not much changed. I think that's my biggest thing. When I used to just, I would call it a dirty pour. I would just dump it in, which it was. If you just dump it in rather than trying to like grab a totally separate cup and layer, all the colors over and over and over again, I think you're pretty guaranteed to have very, very thin banding doing it that way. What I was trying to avoid by doing the layering, though, into a totally new cup is what I would get where I just dumped, 1 or 2 colors into a third cup that already had some. So instead, I would start with a cup that had, let's say it was green resin in here, and then I would just dump, red in there, and then like white or whatever it may be, and then just kind of give it a stir. What would end up happening is I would get kind of chunky blocks on like the first blank that I poured, and then things would get thinner and thinner as I went, and so what I was trying to do was try to keep those the banding from being like super chunky at the beginning and then super thin at the end. Well, we pretty much got the same result, but you got even more thin banding, I think, on the front end, because there's so many little thin stacks of them. So I don't know. I think that my takeaway from this is if you're going to go for a dirty pour, I don't think you have to be all complicated about pouring multiple layers and doing all that stuff, because frankly, I don't know that you're going to get significantly different results necessarily. I don't know. I'd love to see if anybody does some dirty pour experiments of their own. I'd love to see, what did you do? What did you get out of it? Because, we've done a couple experiments and I don't know, it's been mixed results. We've gotten different results on everything, even though you kind of were expecting somewhat similar results. I don't know. So, when's my pen business up and running? Actually, pretty soon. You know what I'm waiting for? Chad Schimmel and I, well, actually a lot of Chad, we actually kind of came up with a little bit of a logo already for it. I've been thinking about this for a while, and the reason that it hasn't actually started up yet is because I was trying to settle on the name of the company. I was really kind of debating the name and the logo. So I've been really thinking about this probably since last August, at least, when I went to that pen show. I was like, oh, it'd be pretty cool to have like a little pen division of my business. So I've been thinking about it a while, but it took me a long time to settle on all that stuff. And we decided last time I was down at Turner's Warehouse, Chad and Amy helped me out, and kind of we focused in on stuff, and then Chad helped me develop a logo. So right now what I'm doing is I'm getting nibs engraved. So I want to get that done before I start everything up. And then I need to get that file actually so that I can set up a logo, and then I need to do a DBA for my business before I start stuff up. But should be pretty soon. And then I have to decide, I'll probably set up another website, I'm guessing, separate from my ResinWorks Studio one that you can access from there maybe. I need to look into that. So the short answer is it'll be coming probably within like a month or so, something like that. I think that'll probably be when we get things rolling with that. And I think I'd like to also get a few pens finished that I can actually, you know, sell when I start that thing up. So pretty soon here, just got to kind of buckle down and get some stuff going on it. But anyway, guys, really enjoyed turning these things up, doing these experiments. It was one of those that I don't know. I didn't know what to expect the whole way through, and we've done that for, you know, a couple different pours now. I think we're going to have to stop the dirty pours. I'm not going to do another round of these because I think we're going to get a lot of the same. But down the road, what I'd like to do is we'll mix in, you know, some experiments messing around with dirty pours. I really think that for me, it's just as easy for me to just kind of dump a couple colors together, not messing with layers and messing around so much, and just pour it in as one color, you know. Another way you can do this is you can make, you know, and we did this with the alien blanks, where there were technically like 3 different dirty pours going on. You know, like we mixed a couple colors in one cup, mixed a couple in another, and then another. And that way it's a little bit more manageable, where you're going to get more of the kind of swirling going on, but you've mixed a couple of colors together. I think that's probably the sweet spot for dirty pour technique. But if you just want to have a lot of fun with it, you know, just dump them all together and see what you get pouring it out. I think it's a fun way to go. So, you know, we'll probably do some of that down the road on some, you know, maybe we'll do that like on the next, well, we'll have to see. We'll maybe do like a normal one and a dirty pour and kind of see, you know, what are the differences in that. So anyway, guys, thanks for joining on Sunday. We'll be back to regular Saturday next week. Like I said, it looks like 63% kind of liked the Sunday, but that means that, you know, we're still pretty much half and half. So I think I'll probably just leave it on Saturday for now. But I think I might actually do the poll next week on Saturday and see what people say that show up on Saturday. It'd just be kind of curious to see how that goes. So anyway, I hope everybody has a great rest of the day. Again, thanks for joining the fun. And then I think next week, what we're going to have to do, I'm still kind of messing around with these burl molds, but it's more for just like trying to get things dialed in for like the shipping side of things. But I think it would be really fun to just focus on making some faux burls. So I think that's what we're going to do next week. Like I said, I've been really looking forward to making these burl molds for a long time, and I'm really super excited that they're done now. So maybe we'll do a few burl molds and have a little bit of fun with that. So anyway, again, have a great, and if you're interested, if you're looking for something that can make bottle stoppers or even like a handle type of blank, and you want to make fake burls that look kind of like, let me go grab a couple samples. Ooh, this one's a good one. So this is what this mold produces. It's like a little faux burl, and then what you do is you pour this, and then what you do is you recast it in a 1.5 inch. Well, that didn't work too well. What's up with my PVC pipe? Let me get a better PVC pipe to show the example. So, all my PVC pipes are messed up. But anyway, fits in a PVC pipe. You would just push it down to the bottom, and you can pour like clear or whatever, and then you get like a hybrid handle, but the whole blank is hybrid or resin, not no wood in there. So it's pretty fun. What I really love about this is you can use it. How I've been making these is over pours. So instead of making a happy fun cup, I'm making happy fun burls. I think Kim came up with that. This is a mermaid. So that should be kind of fun. But anyway, these guys are available on the website if anybody's interested. Like I said, I'm still kind of just slightly dialing in like the dimensions of this to make it the best for shipping. What I'd like to do is, the reason I'm messing around, because the original design was fine. The problem I have is right now I'm forced to charge, like the highest, like the flat rate shipping charge. And this thing, like, what I'd like to do is make it so I can just drop it in a bubble mailer, but I don't really want to ship this thing and it be all jacked up when you get it. So what I think I'm going to end up having to do is I think I might 3D print something so that it won't, I don't know, it should snap back, but I don't want you to get this thing and it's all like oval and jacked up. So I've been putting it in a box so it doesn't get as squished. I don't know. I fret over the silliest things, but I'm trying to save you guys money so I can just charge $5, throw it in a bubble mailer, and if that's all you want, that's what you get. But for now, they're available on the website. They're kind of as I make them, and I'm actually about to run out of the silicone that I use for these, but I already have one on order, so there may be just a little slight delay if you order one right now, but probably no longer than like a week or so. So anyway, guys, I enjoyed having you guys out. Thanks for watching the show, and we'll be back, like I said, regular time, noon Pacific time next Saturday, and we'll have some fun with burls. So have a great night, and I'll see you guys on the next stream.